Hello and welcome to Howard's Cave of Wonder. I'm Chris, aka Howard Blues, welcoming you once again to my cave. And a very good morning to you. It's at the time that I'm starting this, it's about 4:41 in the morning. I've actually been up since about 2 a.m. Just couldn't sleep. And so I came down to the cave and I thought, life's been a little bit stressful. Let's do some painting. And I have a slew of projects to work on, but really I think what I'm going to work on is I have a bunch of projects up on my paint desk here that are in various stages of completion. I also have some down on the desk that are in various stages of completion. So I'm just going to paint and try and see if I can finish some of these and chat a little bit all the way as I do it. Because this was by no means, I was not intending to make a video, but I'm up and that'd be good to actually finish a project or two on this channel. So let's do it. Let's see if we can have some fun and get some painting done and have just a little extra video. All right, so I have a slew of projects. A lot of them are started. A lot of them have just stalled out for various reasons. So let's try and talk about why. I'm going to start, I think, with one that I think will be an easy finish. That's this guy right here. This is a Reaper Miniatures model, and it is a half-orc monk. And it really, overall, I'm like, we're close on this guy. Let's talk about what needs to be done. We need a little eye work. He needs eyebrows. The wraps are all good. I need to paint in his toenails. I clearly haven't done that. I don't. Yeah, I got some fingernails. So we got some fingernails that we need to do. Really, then he's got some red tassels that I got at least a base coat on, and that could use a little bit more. The orange on his pants needs a little work, and his blue tabard needs some work as well. So quite a bit actually on him. And I should probably do just a very nice little wash on kind of his fur here to just add some depth to it. It's not really shaded. So, that's a lot. Okay, well, let's start with that tabard. Here's the interesting thing, and here's, I think, where some of these projects stall out, is there's stuff that I've started working on. Oh, and his hair. I've just left his hair. That's still the primer. With some of these projects, you just get to like a point where maybe you stop because you're doing something else. And in this case, I think I moved on to something else. This was just a fun project to work on. And I need to kind of come back and do a little work on him. So let's start. And I'm going to just start on that tabard. And just gonna grab a lighter blue. We're gonna just thin this out real well. We're just gonna try and add some texture. That's the goal. And let's go. And as we do, we're gonna talk about talents. Why? I don't know. Truthfully, I listened to a podcast not too long ago. That was about painting, and they were talking about wet palettes, and it was an interesting conversation, but I find it interesting because I was really excited. The one guest who was on it was going to seemingly make an argument that wet palettes were not a great tool to use. What it really came down to is the actual hosts, kind of just telling him like, well, no, you don't quite understand a wet palette or how we use it or what we're doing with it, and he kind of came around to it. But I was really excited because I'm like, oh, somebody who uses a dry palette like myself. And so it was kind of one of those. I was waiting to hear kind of somebody else defend it. So I do use a dry palette in my. That's going to be a little bit better angle. In my painting, and part of it is I actually own a couple of wet palettes because I liked the idea when I was doing a little bit more regular painting of a wet palette where I could take and mix up my paint and it would be good for a while. And so I was really excited by that concept. The truth is I never really used it, mostly because when you switch to a new tool like that, there's a learning curve. And I guess I just felt that I didn't really want to take the time to learn a new thing. I just actually wanted to paint. And so it's kind of if I did that, I'd have to learn it. And I just didn't feel like learning it at that time. And that's not to say that a wet palette is a bad thing. I just have not taken the time to learn how to properly use one. So with this, all I'm trying to do with this tabard is just kind of highlight these folds. And I'm trying to do it with the lighter paint. And the way I like to highlight, especially cloth, I just make these little hash lines, these little kind of ticks back and forth. Now, because it's been so long, I didn't remember the exact color that I had started with his tabard. So this is really bright comparatively, but I think that'll be okay. I'm going to push the highlight even a little bit further with this. And I think if I do that, I should then be able to come in and glaze it with like a dark blue that will kind of take and hopefully bring this down a little bit and make it all work. That's the goal. That's what we're going to try. So, just kind of starting on that. Try my best. He's got kind of a weird double fold here that's making it a little interesting, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And that's just painting. You try different things and figure it out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. That's okay. I really am excited to get this figure finished. I like the sculpt. I like the idea of a half-orc monk. It's one of those things where, truthfully, one of the first D&D characters I played, like my second character ever, was a dwarf monk. And I know that min-maxers are like, a dwarf monk? What a terrible combo you have there, Howard. Yes, it had some flaws, but it also had a lot of things that I absolutely loved. Okay, a good kind of start. I'm not worried if it's not 100% perfect. Let's play with that color a little bit. So I was kind of a really light blue. I'm going to mix in something that's closer to white. So an aquamarine blue. We'll just throw a little bit of that in. It's going to lighten it up even more. And I'm just going to let you know if you hear a little kind of going on. It's, about 5 in the morning. My sprinklers are running. They're hitting the window that's back there. So if that comes through, now you know what it is. So, again, mixing it up, getting a new color. Just a little bit finer brush. I'm not usually one who gets a whole lot of insomnia, but occasionally it occurs, and when it does, I try to find things to do to kind of keep myself going. I usually either come down and paint, or I'll just veg out a little bit in front of the TV and watch something. I think a lot of my insomnia tends to be stress related. So the wife and I had a very stressful day yesterday, and just a lot of unexpected expenses. Are we had an alternator go out in our car, and as they were fixing that, they discovered problem after problem after problem, and the next thing you know, the bill just got to be incredible. And you throw that into a stressful week. My son's going back to school, kindergarten. He's at a new school, and then trying to figure out all those new routines with getting my 2 daughters to daycare, and how's that going to work? My wife going back to work, and needless to say, it's a lot. And I just mentally having some issues with thinking about all of that. It's not perfect, but we can live. We can live with that. Let's start. Let's get these tassels going. Let's get these tassels going. I'm also going to try and I'm using just a brighter red to hopefully just highlight them up. They're kind of a small detail on this figure, so I don't really want to spend a ton of time. They only appear kind of right on his legs, and I chose an orange to go right on top of them. So I'm not really looking for this to be a super standout feature. So I'm not going to go to the lengths of highlighting them like all the way up to white, like some people would. I want to highlight them so that they stand out, so that people, if you look at the model, you'll see it, and you'll of course recognize it. But it's not where I want the focus to be. I want people to focus on other parts of the model. So just coming in and applying this and not trying to eliminate all of the dark red that was there to begin with, just trying to, as I said, brighten this up. I know for some folks, red is probably the most frustrating color to paint, just because it does require layers. I remember when I started painting, and I was doing a lot of kind of research, learning how to paint and things, and reading stuff in forums. And I remember hearing just about like, oh, red is such a difficult color to paint, and being like, oh, how am I ever going to do this? You know, if it is such a tricky thing to paint. And I learned, I figured it out, and yeah, to do red well, definitely some kind of tricks to it. Sorry, I know that's not the best camera angle right there, but man, had to tilt it so I could see. So it's one of those. I always put it as red can be tricky. I will give anybody that, but I think it's not so much tricky as it's just a little bit of time consuming. And so you just have to, if you want to do your red really well, it's going to take layers. And you just have to be patient with that. Or spray paint the whole thing red right off the bat, but I'd rather take the time on my layers. So, but yeah, I figured out red, I figured out yellow. And there's still, you know, so I don't consider them challenges anymore. I just consider them, you know, it is just a color. If I want to achieve decent code and such with it, it's things I got to do. But I think where a lot of the maybe dislike of the amount of work for red is people who paint a ton of red for like an army. Like if you are choosing to paint Blood Angels, if you're a GW fan, you might look at the amount of red that you have to paint on something and go, no, that is a sure lot of red. So I am going to take this current red, and I'm just going to use it a little bit as a shade for my orange pants. So I'm just kind of coming in where there's the creases and the grooves. And I chose a particular, it's a kind of an orangey red for this, as a way to just improve my shading on this guy's legs. That's always one of my things that I'm always really happy about when I paint, is if I can figure out like, oh, this color I put on here, yes, I put it on to be, you know, to serve this purpose, but it's also, you can use it to then serve another purpose on the model. So in this case, using it as my shade to my orange. It has just enough of a orange tint to begin with that it'll play well. That's the goal. I'm hitting some of these poofs down here. And I'll come back in with an orange and work up the highlights and all of that. But because my red down here on the tassels was so dark to begin with, when I added this as a highlight to that, it works because it's on a dark base, whereas the orange on his pants was a lighter base, so this works as a shade. So it's just using colors in kind of the right way. Speaking of orange, let's do some orange. It might seem like I'm jumping around a lot. Some people get very much into I'm going to paint this color. And that's all they will. Like, they will finish. Like, they'll start the pants and they will finish the pants. I tend to find that if I jump around just a little bit, I can, it keeps my brain going and helps me just to feel like, oh, I'm making progress elsewhere. So here I have kind of another orange. This will not be my final orange. It's kind of more trying to work on some of these spots where I need to bring the orange back. I gotta stop bumping that camera. It's a little tricky to paint with a camera right between my legs, but making the most of it. So this orange is clearly brighter than the original orange that I used, and that's okay with me because it's working out. Things are coming along pretty well. So let's get back to those tassels. With those tassels, the last thing I did was red. I kind of want to hit my last highlight. You know what color it's going to be? It's going to be this orange. That is kind of my mid-tone on that. Orange is a great highlight for red. And I'm going to be just very sparing with this. I don't really want them to come off as orange. I just want to kind of insinuate the color. We're going to do that. Okay. I'm pretty happy with those tassels. I need to bump my orange up a little bit, color-wise. So I'm going to add a second. Because the pants are such a big piece, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to first add a lighter orange to my current mix. Just to try and, bring that into a little bit lighter. But then my next color that I will add will be yellow. Trying to just kind of, again, shift a little bit of the color in it. I don't know that shift is the right word. It's just what my brain can think of at 5:12 in the morning. So on the pants here, I'm not doing my cross-hatching that I did on the tabard. And I have a reason for that. And that reason is I kind of view this as going to be more of a kind of a silky color or a silky cloth color. Again, 5 in the morning. Cloth, a silk cloth. And I just don't necessarily want kind of that sort of texture in it. Texture is one of those things I'm constantly working on because I think it's a neat way to try and figure out a model, but also can I add more interest and detail to a model just by figuring out how to texture something. Let's go yellow. Let's finish these pants. With this, I don't necessarily want the super bright yellow. I'm gonna go with this one. It's not quite as bright, but I think that will work out for me. Okay, let's put some yellow on this. And hey, maybe while I got a quick break, I'm gonna take a drink of water because I'm just all talking. Here's something. If you're watching this, I'm trying to finish some projects. You can give me a little help on. I have this. It's a bulletin board for just kind of a scenery piece. It's a cool piece, but you'll notice that the papers are blank. I want to add something to it, and I'd kind of like it to be an interesting reference of something. I just have really struggled to come up creatively with an idea for it. So if you have an idea, a suggestion, hey, throw it in the comments. I would love to take and potentially add that to a miniature. So, hey, you get something good. I'm kind of thinking, I've been on a real shark kick. And, with Bruce, who's always hanging out behind me. And the fact that, hey, I started earlier Sweet. Where did Bruce go? I've been painting my own Bruce, and hey, you can follow that project along. I will get back to Bruce. I just didn't have the energy on that one, and just kind of want to clear some stuff off. I will come back to Bruce. That's the very next thing to do. Anyway. I am thinking I'm trying to do something kind of like Jaws logo related on one of those. Something like Beach is Closed or such. We'll see. See what I come up with. But that's at least a start. But I'm looking for other kind of like slight like pop culture references. So here, I don't really want to have too much paint on my brush. And here I am kind of adding my little gentle kind of tick marks or such to it, because the yellow is going to be a very kind of bold color, I think, on this. And one thing I have found with like highlighting things like this, I'm not worried about like the perfectly symmetrical lines and such. Again, this is cloth. It's a worn material. I want to just add some layers and kind of nuance to it as best I can. I'm not worried about perfection or everything hitting the light. Sometimes I feel like we often feel as painters that everything has to go to like that white highlight. And it's got to be a perfect, like, edge highlight or such. And I'd kind of be the first to tell you, I don't know that I agree with that. For example, take a look at my shirt. It's got folds, it's got wrinkles in it. I have two fairly bright lights shining upon me. But you'll notice it doesn't ever really get to white. The closest is probably down here on my arm that's closest to that light. But even then, it's not all the way to a white. That's a very kind of pale red. And so I have a real, I don't know, it's just in my aesthetic, I guess, that I paint very few miniatures all the way to that level of highlight, just because I just don't feel like that's a truly natural thing. I don't know. Maybe a Howard Blues painting hot take. So, hey, where do you fall on that old adage of highlight all the way to white on everything? Because I rarely do. Like in this case with these pants, this yellow will be kind of my last real color on it. And I will probably even then choose a color. Actually, I think I have an ink that I'm going to use. Oh gosh, I'm way off. I have an ink that I'm planning to maybe use as a pleasing color to just try to kind of help even out my my blends here. And it's a old privateer press ink. It's a blazing ink, what it's called. And it should. I've used it on some of the fire effects I've done. That's worked out pretty well. Okay. we got pants. The tabard is... Yeah, needed glaze. Do I want to do that? I think before I dive into that, I want to do his toenails and his thumbnails. Fingernails. Whoa. Howard's going to need some strong caffeine to get through. With that. I feel like I got a lot of kind of warm-ish colors floating on here. So I'm debating if I want to go kind of a warmish color or what I got to there. I have a bottle skeleton bone sitting here. Let's skeleton bone it up. Sometimes I think with us painters, you get a little too into your head with some of this stuff. You start to like really antagonize yourself with color selection and color choice and all of that. And sometimes it's just good to say, "Hey, brain, take a break and just let us cook for a little bit here and just see what we can come up with." Sorry to all of you young, I don't even know what they're Gen Zers, whatever now. Those of you who's in jargon, let it cook comes. I've stolen that as a millennial. I'm not even a great millennial. But I have taken that one. That's I like that one a lot. The whole idea of just letting somebody do their thing. Oh, the toenails on this guy are just hardly existent. And I've already kind of demonstrated brush control at this early in the morning is not the greatest. Again, I'm not really worried about getting these 100% right and such. They're toenails. How often do we really look at a miniature's toenails or their fingernails? I'm not saying you shouldn't paint them. I'm just saying I think that there's more to a model than those little features sometimes. You definitely want to paint them, but in this case, I don't think they're going to be such a big thing that they're really going to stand out a whole lot. And I'm okay with that. I know a lot of stuff gets built up about model painting quality, and whether it's to a tabletop standard or professional or all of that. I don't tend to worry about that. I kind of say I paint a model until I feel the model's done. That's just always kind of been my take. I paint to the best of my ability. I'm going to try eyes. Terrible idea right now, but I'm going to try eyes. I always just kind of say paint here. Kind of your standard, and if you feel like you did the best you could with something, hey, you know what? That's probably okay. this guy has very kind of beady eyes. It's slightly annoying if you ask me. Good save. Good save. Okay, what do I got left on this guy? His sleeping bag needs a brown for the straps holding it. His bag here needs a buckle, but it's also got this interesting fringe trim, and I kind of just maybe want to add just an interesting color to that. I'll have to decide what I want to add. The other thing is he's got this bottle here. I should do something with the bottle. I think with the bottle, I think I want to go blue. And I say that just because color-wise, I have a lot of warmth in his pants. The only real kind of cool I have is the tabard, which is really only visible from the front. This would add just something on the back. I know I had hoped to get a project done. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there was more to do on this model than I had originally expected. That's okay. Yes. That's just one of those things with models these days. There's just so much detail on them that you can easily be working on them and think that you have hit everything and then go, oops, here's a detail I missed. So, with something like this, I want it to be different. I have some leather and such that's already on this model, and so I don't want to duplicate leather. So, we're going to just kind of keep it to a different brown. I used a shield brown, is what it is from Reaper, mixed in with a little ebony flesh, at least to start off to get kind of a shade going. But just wanting to put this in and just make it look different. And then I will lighten it up a little bit and come back in, highlight the different strands of the rope. So trying to, as I said, just give myself a different brown, a different look, a different color. I'm not going to worry about the little, there's kind of a little rope that's holding the bottle just yet, because I have more blue to do. And if I'm not careful, I will end up having problems. But I am going to come in to the cork here. Use this brown as a starter on the cork. But I'm going to go a very different shade yet again on that. Again, trying to use, again, a lot of the same colors so that things tie together. but yet some different. One thing I'm also going to do, I have this really janky brush from an earlier little video I did this morning. Since I do have a brown, I'm going to dip a little bit of this in here. And just on the base, just stipple in some of this brown. I don't want my rock and such to be too uniform. So, there. Use up some of that. Okay, where next? That brush is terrible. Let's work on that blue a little bit. And for that, I'm going to use a brighter blue. Just because I want to, again, I want slight differences, want some similar color. I'm sure that there are proper, like, artistic terms for these things that I'm trying to do. I just don't have the mental capacity at the moment to speak highly on them. Okay. Oh. We're looking good. I still have to kind of shade in some fur. We have hair, and then 2 glazes, and a buckle. I'm done. I don't know that I'm going to get them quite finished in what time I have left, because I need some time to clean up. And then get ready for work and take my son to school. So I just grabbed a little silver here. Ready to just add it to this buckle. I'm going with silver over kind of a brass or gold, just because I feel like I have a lot of, again, that warm colors throughout. A little silver just makes for something different. And there we go. Well, he's not finished, but I think a couple of glazes in the right spot. Eyes, hair, and I think we're there. So probably another 30, 40 minutes. It'll be done. So model close to done. And hey, if you made it through all of this and such, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for spending a very early morning with me and painting, and hopefully you did some painting of your own or some hobbying of your own, whether it's, I don't know, sleeving cards for a board game or painting miniatures, assembling miniatures, whatever you do. Hopefully this entertained you a little bit during that, or at least with some good background noise. And with that, I say the classic YouTube thing. Hey, if you liked it, feel free to, give a like, subscribe, to get more of this. I promise it won't all be early morning painting videos where I kind of mumble and grumble incoherently. Usually I'm a little bit more on the ball, but it was a special circumstance. Again, thanks for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you all down here in the cave again next time. Good morning, everybody.